Even though I'm on TV once in a while or an author, what I really am is a simple professor. As a professor, I'm allowed to give you a quiz. Rule of 72. How many of you have heard of the rule of 72? Let's say we have a 6% annual growth rate. How long will it take the market to double? Okay, what will it be in 18 years? Who said 4,000? Not you. I heard a woman's voice. Now I'm going to give you a new one, okay? You may want to write it down. Rule of 10. You want to know the rule of 10? How many of you ever have seen a speaker and you worked out your BlackBerry pretty quickly? Okay. Give me 10 minutes to see if I teach you something useful.
Whether he's addressing students or CEOs, Jeff Rosensweig keeps his audience captivated.
A lot of it will come down to the question, is the U.S. in a recession? If we're in a recovery, is it durable, or are we going to hit a double dip? When will the job market turn around?
He addresses the issues on everybody's mind.
And is there any good news for the future of the U.S.? Through demographics, through finance, through our trade situation, can we remain, if not the superpower, at least a leading superpower?
And navigates his audience to clear conclusions.
The takeaway is there's a lot of big economies, but never let people run down the U.S. By far the biggest will remain, but there very much is the rise of these emerging markets.
Prior to teaching at Emory University, Dr. Rosensweig was a professor at Yale School of Management. He attended Yale for both his bachelor's and master's degrees in economics. He won a Marshall Scholarship to study at Oxford University, where he received a master's degree in philosophy, politics, and economics. Today, Dr. Rosensweig is a frequent keynote speaker on topics related to global economic and financial trends and forecasts. He's written 3 books, including the critically acclaimed Winning the Global Game, a strategy for linking people and profits. Professor Rosensweig is often quoted in the national business press, including Forbes, Fortune, and Businessweek. He has appeared nationally on ABC World News Tonight and Good Morning America, NBC's Today Show, NBC Nightly News and Nightline, Bloomberg TV, and he is a frequent economic commentator for CNN.
He explains the economic trends that matter to your business.
How many of you are impacted by exchange rates one way or another? Either by foreign competition or facing the threat of offshoring, or you earn revenues in more than the U.S. So if you earn revenues somewhere else, it's like, what are those things worth, those pesos or euro or something, in terms of U.S. dollar? Well, those of you who are somewhat impacted by exchange rates, how many of you work for companies that do something outside of the U.S., either produce or sell?
And why your business matters to the economy.
Let's say you were running your business, or you're thinking of starting a business. Most businesses are started in this country by women, for instance. If they are only hearing how bad things are going to get, why would they start a business?
Well, how the global landscape is changing.
You know, one of the themes today, and one of my themes, is emerging markets really are emerging. You know, we used to call them basket cases. And you might think, that's not very nice, or banana republics. So after a while, we call them developing nations. And I always wondered, is that a euphemism? You know, a way to say something that sounds nicer. Well, it actually isn't. There's a lot of truth to it, and we're beginning to see that. And we'll see it throughout my talk. On the other hand, don't forget that the U.S. is by far the biggest and most powerful market, which is why there's still so much investment coming into the U.S.
And why you need to understand these changes.
First is why many of you are interested in China or India. They're not the second largest or the first largest economies now, but they have that fast growth, which will continue. So that one day, China will be second, and as you know, everyone talks about, will pass the U.S. Now, before we get too jumpy about that, it'll take longer than some people think, because China has some growing pains. You don't just grow on these exponential curves forever.
He brings up thought-provoking issues relevant to every organization.
Something of particular concern to me is gender equity. But particularly, firms have to think about, I believe, the life cycle of, for instance, a woman. Does she have the same opportunities? Does she have the same expectations placed upon her as a man who maybe enters a firm?
And does she have enough role models? And as universities, we have to think about that.
He boils things down to the big questions.
Well, let me ask you this question. None of us like the idea of government deficits, but raise the idea if you like the idea of tax increases when the economy is just on the edge of really falling off the cliff. How many of you would even think maybe business, small businesses, for instance, entrepreneurs, maybe good people who got downsized through no fault of their own, who think, I got to do something, I'll try to start a business. How many think that they could even benefit from tax credits or tax subsidies?
And isn't afraid to give his own opinions.
I think so. So it's the worst of two evils, and they're both evil. But I have no goal right now, for instance, to see tax increases. And luckily, I don't think we will see any.
Questions like, why does sustainability matter?
Right now, so much focus on sustainability and being green and protecting the environment. And I think that obviously is a topic that will last not just from now, but for the rest of time. A lot of people don't realize, for instance, that the world is going to add, for the next few decades, 75 million people a year. 100 more people every 42 seconds.
How should you prepare for an uncertain future?
Well, if inflation is coming, how do you want to be invested? Do you want to have all your retirement money in fixed income? Like, okay, I'm going to buy a government bond. It pays me 3%. It's all it's ever going to pay is 3% interest. That's great if there's no inflation. If prices start going up in a few years, it's not going to happen for a few years, but if they start going up 4% a year, you think, oh, I'm gaining 3% a year. That'll take care of my retirement. You're actually falling behind. You're gaining 3% a year interest, but the prices are going up 4%.
Amidst the media hype, he brings realistic hope.
Well, what about the credit markets? I mean, are we starting to see them thaw at all?
They are thawing. The interest rate now that banks lend to each other has come down dramatically.
Right.
And if they'll lend to each other, they'll get money when they need some. Let's say they have some big borrowers who need some money. That is the first sign of thawing. It is true that the Federal Reserve has done a good job of throwing enough money into the banking system to get it to thaw. And that's why we see bank profits going up, for instance.
Sure.
There's some action again for the banks.
Jeff Rosensweig's original content, specifically tailored to our audience, was absolutely on point. His engaging and entertaining manner makes him an ideal speaker for sophisticated business audiences like ours. His global perspective, whether speaking to our board of directors or the entire convention delegation of more than 2,200, is always rich in substance. Matthew Shea, President, International Franchise Association. His content-focused approach and respect for his audience distinguishes him in a variety of ways. Whether speaking at our UPS Management Conference or to students at the Delta State International Symposium, we can always count on him to give an intelligent and enthusiastic message, particularly on global issues. David Abney, Chief Operating Officer, UPS.
He believes an engaged audience is the speaker's responsibility.
You know, there wasn't a single BlackBerry, which really impresses me. I think you are ready to compete, you know, and just do your very best. And I do feel the world you're in because I feel it in my own students, you know, so don't ever think it's you either if things are very tough. We live in tough times. Thank you very much.